Can y'all just grab some women, man? Just grab the men. Grab the men. Y'all know how to ask them. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Campbell. I'm President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. And it is my honor, my privilege, and a joy. Can we say joy? To be here with you all today for this 14th annual Black Women's Roundtable Policy Forum series at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Annual Legislative Conference. We want to thank the Congressional Black Caucus under Nicole Austin Brewery, who is the president and CEO of the CBCF. So we want her, I know she's running around all over the place, so can we give her a round of thank you applause for opening the doors to partner with what we call ourselves third-party groups, but community-based organizations, and provide this space. I have a sister who's sitting to my right who is a former president, twice over, Dr. ALC Scott. And Dr. Scott was president when we started this 14 years ago. I forget what room. We said we wanted to have a space just to have sisters to show up. And I think we were in the room, and the room like overflowed. And maybe it was about 100 of us in that room that was really for 30. And Elsie came up to me and she said, "We got to do this again next year, you know." I don't know if you remember that. And so it's her fault that we gather. And this is a gathering. This is an opportunity, and we thank CBCF to let us kind of break the mold with how we do this. And Dr. Menajesi over here, who's a former vice president of research, am I correct? Who is now at Universal and has been a part of that. So give her a hand, because she was a part of that, and many others. And in absence, Muriel Cooper, who has been a strategic alliance leader for the CBCF, who puts up with me as well. So this year, the theme is leveraging the power of Black women in the 22 midterm election cycle, fighting for our rights, freedom, safety, justice, and democracy. And the core of it, as we all know, we're living in a time that we've never seen before. But we are a resilient people. We're going to save this democracy one more time. Can we say one more time? Because we strategically understand that if the democracy falls, so do we as a people. We help build this country. We help mold this country. And we know that we have a situation over these last few years where we're shifting to something that looks like states' rights as opposed to an ability for us as a people who've always had the federal government to have to really protect our rights and freedoms. Cora Bear's not here yet, but she'd always say, we really ain't free because we have to keep getting it protected. So however we shake it, we know this election is historically one that we must be fully prepared for. And so I'm going to be a good host. And before I do that, I do have to do my due diligence to the people who I work for. National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Board members, if you're here, would you please stand? Board members of the National Coalition. And our Black Women's Roundtable and our state affiliates of the National Coalition and our partners, would you please stand? Black Women's Roundtable members in the house. And our team, rather than do this at the end, I want to do it at the beginning. Our National Coalition team, would you all wave your hand if you're in the room, peek your head in the room, who make this happen, and I thank you all. And so It is my privilege again to introduce, not really introduce, we all know her, but respectfully introduce this bad sister, April Ryan, who is the White House correspondent. Yes. Bureau Chief, Washington Bureau Chief. Yes. Washington Bureau Chief of the Grio. And this is what I'm really excited about. We just left our first activation. Thank you, Tanya Lombard, AT&T, for hosting us for our first Women of Power, the Gathering Brunch and Conversations. Whoever was there for that, wave your hand. We hope maybe we'll try it again next year. We'll see. But she's the author of a book that's coming out. And all who are here, make sure that we find a way. I think staff will do this a little later. She has a new book that's coming out in October, but we ordered the books, and so we have complimentary books for everyone who gives us the information for us to get that book to you in October. And the book is called Black Women Will Save the World, an Anthem. She will moderate our panel, our power tables. And somebody say power table. Power table. Say, now, whether you're sitting around here or out there, say, I'm at the power table.
I'm at the power table.
I am the power table.
I am the power table.
We are the power table.
We are the power table.
And so I'm going to turn our power table room over to our sister, April Ryan. And I'm going to switch seats so you can come over here.
Okay, well, Melanie Campbell, it is an honor to be with you yet again. We were just with each other in Atlanta. Karen, we were in Atlanta for Power Rising, and I'm telling you, now we're here in this moment, and I can't help but think, and for those of you who were there this morning, you heard me raise her name, the late, great Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman to run for president in 1972. She had a famous saying, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. But wait a minute! These tables and chairs are solid, and you got a black woman convening the whole room. How about that? Owning the table, owning the narrative. And that's what this is about. And it's an honor. And thank you so much for that. I feel so much love from you guys. Thank you so much. I literally just left Congresswoman Cori Bush, who this is her first Congressional Black Caucus legislative conference. And she had Leslie McSpadden there, the mother of Mike Brown. Ooh, talking about trauma. But here, this is the room where we're going to try to heal the traumas, figure out the solutions so we don't have to bear that pain anymore. You know, black women are doing it. This woman, and when you talk about black women will save the world, I got to say this. In my book, I chronicle the moments for voting rights, the fight for voting rights. Leslie Campbell, Cora Masters Berry, Tamika Mallory, CBC Chair, Joyce Beatty, and others just were singing songs to Zion and just singing old Negro spirituals just for the right to vote in the Senate chambers, and were arrested and sent to that little jail, juxtaposed with what happened January 6th, right? About 10 black women going to jail for singing in the Senate chambers. And Cleola Brown, yes. That's what I'm talking about. So that's why we have black leaders at this power table. And I want to introduce Elsie Scott, PhD, founding director of Ron Walters Leadership and Policy Center at Howard University. I also want to bring forth Karen Finney, senior advisor at Brilliant Corners. And I also want to bring forth Gwen McKinney, campaign and team director, McKinney and Associates, Unerased. Ladies, welcome. Turn on your mics. Let's have a conversation. Elsie, I want to start with you. What are the top line issues that we need to be focused on in the weeks leading up, weeks and days, hours and minutes, leading up to that November midterm election? And I'm going to say this as I was in Atlanta. We were in Atlanta the other day. And how many of you from Georgia here? Okay. Well, let me say this. I just sat in my hotel room just to watch the commercials, the campaign ads, which were a travesty to me.
Lord have mercy.
It was a travesty. We'll talk about that. We want to welcome the great Hazel Dukes and Corey Masters-Berry into the room. Freedom fighters, yes. So, Elsie, what are the top 3 line items in your recent research as it relates to the lead-in to the midterm elections? Press the button. Press the button. There you go.
Okay. Put it again, Elsie. The gold
See where, yeah.
space.
Is it on? Here, you want to?
Try it now.
Yeah, she can. Yeah, she can use yours. Yeah. He's okay. So in the meantime, okay, here we go.
Okay. As many of you know, that we have been doing a survey with Essence Magazine for a number of years. And what we've tried to do with that survey is to determine what are the issues that will drive black women to the poll. So I guess that's where I'll start from and talk about some of the issues we found in those studies. One of the things that we've seen, black women are especially focused on economic issues. And economic issues ties into housing issues, a whole lot of issues even tied into schools, etc. And we found in the last few years, racism has become a bigger concern of black women. I think we didn't even have it on the survey the first year. But once we've added it, we found that it rises right to the top. Policing and criminal justice issues are very strong issues. And this year, we had taken the poll before the Supreme Court intervened in Roe v. Wade. And so we didn't have
Struck it down. They didn't intervene. They struck that thing down.
Thank you. And so we did not have that on the survey. So we're not quite sure where that's going to figure in the election, but we're sure that it's a big issue for women, and we know it's a big issue for black women, and even black women who have been concerned about their Catholic Church and other affiliations they have. They're also seeing that abortion is beyond abortion because it also ties into women's reproduction rights. And so we're certain that that's going to drive more women to the polls also.
Karen, Brilliant Corners is a Democratic polling firm led by Cornell Belcher. But talk to me about your findings, because I've heard much of this throughout what Elsie just said, throughout many of the polling data organizations. I mean, I just saw Rasmussen, whatever. And Rasmussen doesn't necessarily take our thoughts into consideration. And they said the same thing that Elsie said. What are you finding?
Well, thank you.
This community knows how to share and make it work, right?
That's right. All right, now we got it. So Cornell Belcher and I did a poll for the Black Women's Roundtable and Essence in March. And I want to talk briefly about some of the things we found because they're very important to what we're seeing today, and it dispels some of the myths that we're hearing today. So we surveyed Black women voters from across the country, and that's important. These are people who vote fairly regularly. We found 88% in March said they were likely to vote, and 85% said they were motivated to vote, meaning I'm going to do it. I'm already starting to think about it. Now, that was in March, and we're starting to see these stories about black voters aren't motivated. We're not. I don't buy that for a second. And a lot of the polls we are seeing from different organizations, they undersample African Americans. They oversample Republicans in some instances. So I just think we should be skeptical when we're seeing some of those polls. We did ask about Roe v. Wade, and we asked about sort of issue concerns. And the one thing that we found that was quite surprising, I mean, black women always have a full table, full of stuff that we got to deal with. Always have a full plate. But what we found this time is it is overflowing, because the number of issues that had a high intensity, so like out of a scale of 1 to 10 were 9s and 10s, there were about 10 different issues instead of one clear. And there were a couple of pockets, really. One was economic issues. 2, what I would call, women's rights, women's freedom, access to health care, but also Roe v. Wade. 85% of black women voters said they were concerned about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And that was in March, so imagine now that it's gone where people are at. And then the third, very interestingly enough, again, racism, discrimination, and safety. And we asked specifically, because this was a question that they'd been asking in this poll for a while, specifically about the Violence Against Women Act. That rated very high. The concerns that it be reauthorized, which it was. So I think it's important as we talk about where black women are, what is mobilizing us, we also should remember to connect the power of our vote with the power. We did get the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act. That was a top voting issue for us, as our gun safety is also, again, in that sort of coupling of issues around safety. So it's the same suite of issues, but the level of anxiety and concern that black women have about a range of issues is just a lot higher than we've seen.
Gwen, what does that say then if what Karen is saying, the range of issues that are 9s and 10s are much higher in this moment? What does that say about the black woman voter in this moment?
Am I on? Ooh.
Yes, you're on.
Okay, mine is working.
Indeed,
Thank
it
you,
is.
thank you, and congratulations, April, on that book.
Thank you.
I think there's a lot of things to be said, and I need to say that Unerased Black Women Speak, in partnership with the Black Women's Roundtable, conducted a series of research, including focus groups, a national poll, and also some in-depth interviews with opinion leaders who are among the BWR state leaders to just get a gauge. One of the things that we found, okay, I'm too loud on it. Okay. I have been told that by my husband. One of the things that we found that truly, sisters, was critical. There is a deep, deep, deep generational divide that reflects in how we show up in the civic space. And the so-called super voters, and when they say black women vote, it's true, but guess what, y'all? All black women don't vote. And the super voters are the boomers and the so-called silents, people who are 55 above, who never miss an election. Then you've got this group that is a very important group, the high opportunity voters, and they're for the most part, Gen Xers and millennials. They vote, but not all the time. Not that likely, what we found from our research, to show up in the midterms necessarily. And we conducted our research in April and May. And then there's these registered voters. Some of them, the last time they showed up was for Obama. And guess what? The ones in the middle are the Gen Xers, The ones who are the registered voters are the Gen Zs and some of the millennials. What do we have to do? These folks, we can't talk down to them. We can't castigate them for not voting. We have to figure out how we bridge the generational divide so that we are like-minded as a people in terms of the civic space. So, April, in answer to your question, I think that's the big thing. The second biggest thing we found, well, actually, it's three things, April. Information, information, information. And we're talking basics like where do you go to vote? What day is election day? And so I think we've got a lot of work to do. And while we know that black women are the catalyst and the engine for a lot of this work, we've got to figure out how to mobilize our entire community.
So I'm going to ask you three real quick, and I just want to do a round robin really fast. If it rained on Election Day, y'all know where I'm going. What's going to happen to the black women's vote? Come on, Gwen, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, because and I'm sorry for giving you all some dire picture, but I did, for most of you, if you saw The Woman King, you know what we're made of and what our possibilities are.
But everybody doesn't carry a machete and can do all.
No, but it's what we're made of.
She was bad, but
it's what we're made of. It's that fighting spirit. And so I think, April, we've just got a lot of work to do to, my friend Helen Butler says it's hard to convince people of the importance of voting when they don't know what they're going to get for it. And that is something we have to, April, I don't have all the answers. I just asked the questions. But what you're asking, if it rains, bring a freaking umbrella.
All right, you got a couple snaps on that one. Yes, LC, if it
Well,
rains.
I would say, because we have a lot of organizers and mobilizers in this room, start getting people to vote early. Because it might rain, it may snow. You may be sick. So start getting people out that first day of early voting. And then before they go there, make sure they have everything they need to know that they are ready to vote. They're at the right precinct. Their signature matches up if you're in one of those states. So just get people ready to vote, because we are not going to let the rain or the snow stop us.
My dear friend Karen Finney, come on. Okay, let's pass the mic. Okay.
So I'm just going to add on to what my sister said here. Pack a lunch bag, just in case, especially if you're in Georgia, and bring some water. Because you know ain't nobody can bring you some.
Don't ask anybody. Don't ask the grandbaby to come bring you a bottle of water and just sneak it. Don't do that.
Right. But I would also say, in addition to vote early and vote by mail, make sure that we are having those conversations. Next week, Justice Jackson takes her place on the Supreme Court. That does not happen if black women don't show up. If we didn't show up, that would not be happening. We have to be reminding folks at all levels, whatever your age and wherever you are, we showed up in record numbers in 2020 in COVID, against voter suppression, and we changed the course of this country. And unfortunately for a lot of folks, they don't feel it in their everyday life, but that doesn't mean things didn't change. And I think we have to grab onto as many things. The fact that we got vaccinated, the fact that our kids are back in school, the fact that we got some relief on student debt. Not everything we wanted, but we got something. I mean, I think we have to really connect the power of our vote and the consequences, the things that we did get. And I will just leave you with this. We know that next week the Supreme Court will also take up another case that is very likely to finish gutting the Voting Rights Act. So I would say vote, because if we don't have the right people in office, we may not get a chance, again, for quite some time, the way things are going with this Supreme Court.
But Karen, I want to take it a little further. Not only voting rights, but what about affirmative action? They're dealing with the affirmative action in admissions
Yes.
in colleges. And it could have a devastating impact.
And I think that's an important point. I'll leave it with this. I think we have to remind people the things that we did, that have been accomplished. How about $35 for insulin? I mean, I have an aunt who almost went broke trying to pay for insulin. So I think we have to remind folks a few of the things we did get, and I think you tailor that conversation to who you're talking to and what are the issues they care about. And then we do have to remind, we have got more work to do, and we know and talk about what the others will do if they have those levers of power and what their agenda is.
Thank you, Karen. I want to go to our next power table. Cleola Brown, President of A. Philip Randolph Institute, Becky Pringle, President of the National Education Association, Joy Cheney, Executive Director of the Washington Bureau, Senior Vice President, Policy and Advocacy, National Urban League, Barbara Perkins, Founder and President, if I'm correct, Black Women's Public Policy Institute, International Women's Public Policy Institute. Thank you, Melanie. Yes, okay, and your writing, I love it, thank you. And Krista Jones, Convener of Virginia Women's Black Roundtable. And we've got the great Cora Masters Berry, political scientist and former First Lady of the District of Columbia. Welcome, yes. Okay. And I'm going to do something, no one told me to do this, but this woman, if you meet her, you will never forget her. Her name is Hazel Dukes. She hails from the city and the state of New York, and I want to bring her to the table because she's got a lot of knowledge, she's got a lot to say, and she always, one of her calling cards to me is, I fought Donald Trump before he came to the White House. Whew, we needed you in the White House, but yeah, that's a whole nother story. So, ladies, let's move forward. Cleola Brown, how are Black women leveraging their leadership and political power to hold elected officials accountable to win on the policy priorities identified in the research shared by our panelists today?
Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, let me try this one. Is this one working?
Yes.
See, I'm from South Carolina. You always have a backup when you get ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And with women, we are used to doing just that. If you hang around Melanie Campbell, you will know the answer to that question immediately. Rather than talking just to each other, you got to go to the source that's causing you the angst. And that means sometimes it may not look too ladylike to go do the stuff that we have to do, hit the streets, call folks out for what it is that they're doing wrong in real conversation, holding them accountable without any fear. And sisters, we've been sticking pretty tight for a long time. And then when you see her sit back in her legs, you know she's ready then. So whatever is coming, right, Judith? Whatever's coming, it's on the way. Just get ready for it to land. Mary Church Terrell, unbelievable leadership that we have to follow. She always said to us, that we have to lift while we're climbing. That means that as we do what we do, bring somebody with you. That's that backup I'm talking about. And as we look through our own resources, we have to make sure that we don't always look for somebody that's right there where we are. I'm talking age now, y'all, okay? We have to pull some of these young folks with us and then know how to set to the side so that they know their power early enough on so that they don't become afraid. We have got to do that. We don't have any other choice but to do that. But what's troubling me today, April, and I'm going to say this and then I'm going to hush up, all right? Is that as I watch them other folks talk about what this election process really means, I'm talking about them folks that like to call themselves a GOP or whatever they call themselves. But they're not one of us, I'll put it like that. as they lay their message stays on point, and folks can remember what they say. We have got to get really, really good at developing a message that folks will remember, that they can repeat, that they can share, that the mantra that's out there is one that's truth, that deals with us, not what they're saying, because they are quick to pick up something that's repetitive. It's like rap. I can't even do anything except don't push me 'cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. See? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Now, you know how long ago that record was out, right? And you know how old I am because I'm calling it a record. All right? But I'm saying that to make this point. Our messages have got to be clearer. They've got to be direct. They've got to be succinct so that people will remember it. But more than all of that, we've got to remember who we're talking with, not at or to. And our brothers, if we lose our brothers in 22, we will not have our black men with us in 24. That scares the bejesus out of me. And when our brothers don't feel like there's a place for them, that's when we're in trouble. But that's what I wanted to say, April. I know we're supposed to stick to 2 minutes, but you know I'm country, I'm old, and I'm going to say what's on my mind. That's all I got, y'all.
We appreciate you, and thank you so much. And for everyone at the power table, we are limited by time constraints for the room, so we are going from 1 to 2 minutes responses, 1 to 2 minute responses if we can. Becky Pringle, President of the National Education Association. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
You know, I just feel like I need to drop the mic right now. But you know what, April, giving us 2 minutes, you know, black girl from a Black Baptist church, that's just mean.
But it's not me being mean. You know I got so much love for you.
I know you do. I know you do. And I got love for you.
About me, yes.
Oh, my goodness. So let me just say, April, look at me. Look at me.
I'm there.
All right. I just need to say thank you.
Oh.
You are always of us. You are always from us. You are always with us. We are so proud of you, and we are so grateful for all you have done. Thank you.
Thank you, my sister. I felt that one.
Yeah. So that take up 2 minutes. And Miss Melanie, you know, they did give me the mic. See, Cleola handed it to me. So,
but you know what? I appreciate the compliment, but you got 1 to 2 minutes.
I know that. I know that. Cleola, thank you. And Mel, thank you. So here's the thing. You know, I taught middle school science for over 30 years. And this is what I know. Education is at the heart of everything. And when I took on this proud honor of representing 3 million educators all over this country and around the world, I said to them that we, the NEA, must unite not just our members, but this entire nation to reclaim public education as a common good. We must do that as the foundation of this country. But we have to do more than that. We actually have to transform it into something it was never designed to be. A racially and socially just and equitable system that prepares every student, everyone to succeed in this diverse and interdependent world. So when I think about holding elected and appointed, by the way, elected people accountable, I think about what they are going to do to ensure that every one of our babies has the opportunity and the access to go to a safe, just, and equitable school. That's what I think about. And let me add this. It's not only about holding them accountable. You know, 44 days. We must do everything we can. Everybody who likes us or loves us or intends to keep living with us, They need to go and vote. That's what they need to do. And while, we listen to the statistics and the surveys, and that's important. I'm an educator. So we're going to listen to the information, but let me tell you what black women do. Whoa, they got a well of hope. They believe in the plausibility of the possible. Every day, all day. That's why they are the ones leading, and we need to always follow that lead. 94% of NEA members vote. So this is what we're doing. We are turning to everyone who knows that we are that trusted voice in the community, and we're saying we need you to go out and vote for our babies. That's what we need you to do. And that's what our members, raise your hand if you're an educator in this room. Oh, yeah, that's what I know. We're going to spend every one of those 44 days making sure we not only elect people who will support public education in our children and our communities, but we're going to be the wind beneath their wings so they can develop policy that is bold and actually changes what's happening for our babies.
She dropped the mic. You dropped the mic, Becky Pringle, with your posse in hand. Thank you for that. Joy Chaney of the National Urban League. All right, we need the mic. It's going to be a game. Pass the mic game.
I love it. This is a metaphor for our leadership and our style. First of all, I'm so honored to be on this particular panel. Oh, my goodness. And Mark Morial, wherever he is very jealous, I'm sure. I'm so glad to be here. I want to thank all of my National Urban League sisters who serve on the executive staff. I see Rhonda Spears-Bell over there. Thank you so much, Rhonda. And we have Yvette and Badu Namaku and Alyssa Valentine who's in the room. I am so honored to be here and to, in particular to be answering this question. And, of course, I want to thank my sister, Melanie Campbell, always, for featuring me when nobody knew who I was. And I appreciate it. So let me just say, what we are seeing at the National Urban League Black women do are many of the things that we always do. But we do them in interesting places, like online. We've been talking a lot about misinformation, but I don't know if you've noticed, when you've been online, when something goes out that doesn't seem right, and that may, in fact, we know is false, Black women are right there saying, no, sister, we don't pass that around. Don't share that again. We understand. Thank you for letting us know that is false. And not only is it false, don't share it again. We want to make sure that we don't interfere, invest in an algorithm that would then promote that. We are talking in very savvy ways, right? Educating, auntieing, right? My aunt, Deborah, and my mother, Olivia, are in the room. And they have, their friends, my friends, multi-generations are using social media and saying, but we have to be smart about it. That's number one. We do a lot of work about technology at the Urban League, and that is something that we are seeing, and we're very thrilled about that because Black communities will be targeted in these next 44 days? Something like that. The other thing we are doing is digging deeper on policy. So yes, we're talking about criminal justice, we're talking about education, we're talking about all of those issues, but we are also going to issues that maybe folks weren't even paying attention to, like the onslaught. We knew people would be excited about a Black Supreme Court justice, but Black women were excited about Lisa Cook on the Federal Reserve. Those those calls that Joteka puts together were just as filled to talk about the Federal Reserve having the first Black woman on that, and we understood the significance of that. We understand the significance of having someone at HUD, but also someone who's dealing with appraisal bias. And we are articulating those things in our interaction with elected officials. So don't just come talk to us about certain things that are important. We're still going to talk about that. We are also going to talk about generational wealth building. We're also going to talk about a tax code system that's unfair. We have Black women writing books about the discrimination in the tax code. Digging 2, 3, levels beyond the policy that you're seeing the rest of the world. So when people say we have to get a sharp message, but black women, that's a sharp message for everyone else. For us, we understand the deep issues. That's what we are seeing, and I think that's what we are doing to hold our elected officials accountable.
Thanks, Joy. Digging deeper. Let's go to Barbara Perkins. There you go. Pass the mic down.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Melanie, and all my sisters who are every single day doing this work, which we don't call work anymore, just doing what we do for life, because what we do really is the difference in what makes our life worth being here. So the International Black Women's Public Policy Institute is 14 years old. When I co-founded the organization with Kof Llewellyn, I really knew nothing about public policy, absolutely nothing. But what I realized was that it was a space where there could be a relationship between our lawmakers and those of us on the street, because I called myself a community activist at the time. And the space where we can come together with policymakers and have an impact on their decisions. Dr. Haidt, who was a mentor of many of us in the room, always talked about the ability to tap into the next generation of leaders. So what did we do in this organization? There's 14, many of them in here today. We are in 11 states and 6 countries. But we're based here in the U.S. We're not, when you hear the name, you may think we're working outside of the U.S. But again, Dr. Haidt would say, what you do locally has an impact globally. And so this local work that we're doing is building a bench of the next set of leaders in the policy space. What we do is we focus on intergenerational conversations. That's one of the things we do. One of the questions we ask young people, we have a group called the Young Ambassadors. One of the questions we ask them, what are your priorities? The question came out of a sister saying, it took y'all 14 years, 20 years to get change. We're not waiting 14 years and 20 years to change. Now, it would have been easy to push back on that, but it was important to hear their thinking. So, intergenerational conversations around what it means to be in this not so sexy space called the policy space. We have to make sure that they are trained. So finally, what we did last year, 3 years ago now, is we started the Dorothy Irene Haidt Global Leadership Policy Institute.
Amen.
So that we can train them. And then the last thing I'll say, the next step of that, we have launched a campaign to build the first and only Black Women's Embassy right here in Washington, D.C.
Congratulations. Thank you, Barbara. And ladies, we have got to keep to the time. We are way over. We're going to have to answer the question in 1 to 2 minutes because they're going to kick us out of the room. Melanie just said of the room.
I'm going to be like the ogre because they're going to be ogre on us. They're going to cut our mics off at 3:30.
So we got to
because they've got to deal with, and this is not being mean-spirited, they have to sanitize the rooms. So this year is really challenging. Usually, let us chill and roll on over another 30, 40. Doesn't happen today. So we really wanted this to be a flowing, kind of rapid, but share as expansive as we can and respect everybody's time. But they really have to, it's tight this year. Okay, so I apologize in advance.
But I'm glad we're able to convene and talk. So let's go next to Krista Jones.
Yes. So in Virginia, we've really, and thank you, Melanie, so much for all your support. Black Women's Roundtable Virginia would obviously not be here and be able to do all the great work that we do without you. So thank you so much for that. But in Virginia, we've had to really change our paradigm and have much more of a sense of urgency around politics and elections. We have elections every year. We have one-term governors. We currently have a lieutenant governor who may not exactly stand where she's the first black woman lieutenant governor in Virginia. She may not believe in all the things that we do, but we found we can't wait for another 4 years to try to get another African American in. We have to work with her now. We have to find something to work with her on. So in Virginia, we've really become serious about 365-day-a-year advocacy. It's gone are the days when election season is September through November, and then we hear the day after election day, everyone complaining that black people weren't engaged enough. Where were they? We didn't have enough, black people come out to try to get people out to vote. So in Virginia, it has really become 365 days a year trying to get people engaged. And that's how we keep our elected officials accountable.
Well, thank you. All right, let's go to the great Cora Masters-Berry.
Good afternoon. So you gave me a minute, so let me just go right quick. I've been around. Oh, thank you. She gave me 2. I'm glad to be here. I'm a little nervous because I've been around a long time. And I've seen a lot of elections, and I've campaigned in a lot of them, local, state, national. In 2016, we told everyone this was going to be the most consequential election of our time, of the history of this country. And it was. Do you understand what happened in those 4 years? We don't have time to go down the list of federal judges, voter suppression. I mean, people just saying we don't like how it goes, we're going to throw it out. All of that happened because we were feeling the burn and worrying about emails. So I am telling you, the little bit that has been able to be repaired in the last 4 years is only because we're holding by a string the legislative body. If you really want to see the party get hearty, let us lose that. So if you are sitting here, I love polls and I love everything y'all doing. I was a political science professor for years. I've written more books and all things than anybody. I'm telling you, now it's the time to stop talking to each other and talk to the people who's going to make this election. If it wasn't for George Floyd, we wouldn't have who we have now. So I am telling you, get out of these rooms, get in these streets, get at these churches, talk in your salon, talk to the people who don't even understand what's going down. 4 years ago, I sat here at this panel. One of the young people said, when we were talking about how bad it was going to be 2016, we made it through slavery, we can make it through that. I said, first of all, you didn't make nothing. And your mama didn't either. And her mama didn't either. So now, I'd like to find that young man and say, now this is the 21st century version of slavery. How you doing? Because that is exactly what we just went through. So we can do all of this, but you better and we need to honor and lift up our street leaders who are in these streets, the Tamika Mallorys of the world. That's our victory edge. Black women, we have a way of working in every area. We have an inside, outside, undercover, over there with the brother. We all communicate and we get the job done. So I can say it, I grew up understanding inside and outside politics, but if there ever was a time, now is the time to use all of that. So I don't want to hold you up any longer. I just want to tell you that if we don't do something real serious as black people and as women, we're about to see things we have never seen before, things that we've only read about. We are about to experience. So let's get real about what's going on out there. Thank you.
I thought she was going to say South Side. She said the bedside, undercover side. I was like, what? Thank you to the great Cora Masters-Berry. Ooh, you messed me up. All right. Now, the great Hazel Dukes, who hails from the city of New York. Mama Dukes.
I've been here longer than Cora. I've been here longer than Cora. I didn't come here to speak. I came here because you're talking about intergeneration, folks. I came here to support Miss Alicia, not Melanie, I've been supporting all her life. When Adora brought her from Florida. April Ryan all of her life. Her cousin, Karen Boykin Towns, is not here, but my other young little buddy and my little mentor, my soror, is over there, Akosha. I came here to support Akosha. I didn't come here to speak. I have trained Akosha how to speak up.
All right now.
I've trained Tamika Mallory what to do. I've been to jail 15 times, so I don't go anymore. I sit in them. So y'all talking about it, I'm about it. When you see a Rosalind Brock, when you see a Karen Boykin Towns, when you even see a Derrick Johnson. When you see Kwesi Mfume. I was walking in this hall with Merle Evers, and we was looking for a president, executive director NAACP, and the late Judge Hickenbauer. I want to tell y'all a little history in here.
They need it.
Kwesi Mfume had just written his book and was sitting around the corner. And I passed by him. I said, Miss Evers, let's talk to this young man. I've been about young people. I am 90 years of age. And I am not tired yet. And I said in my own church on Sunday, this election is life or death.
That's right.
For our community. Don't go around here talking no sociology and no biology and all that highfalutin stuff. Tell folks they ain't gonna have no Social Security.
Come on, Mama Duke.
Come on, Mama y'all Duke. Young folks, y'all ain't gonna have none. I got mine. That's the reason I got on my St. John, because my check.
The great Hazel Dukes.
Because my check go to the bank. Young folks, y'all ain't gonna have no Social Security. Ain't be no SNAP no more.
All right, Mama Duke.
My grandmother, when Franklin Roosevelt died in Montgomery, Alabama, Mama was sitting on the porch and she was crying. I said, what you crying about? She said, my best friend died. I said, who? She said, Franklin Roosevelt. Well, y'all can be around here crazy if you want to. But if Joe Biden leave, y'all won't smell hell.
The great Hazel Dukes. And the point is, she is raising up a generation. The point is, she is raising up a generation. The great Hazel Dukes. Woo! All right. So, you can't follow that. You cannot follow that. But, okay, so I have questions still to ask. So she The great Hazel Dukes of New York City from the NAACP. She is the state head of the NAACP in New York. And she introduced our next power panel first speaker to come up, Akosha. You gotta bring it, girl. That's it. You got to bring it, because the question is, now that we know what policy priorities black women are most concerned about, how do black women leverage our leadership roles, expertise, power, and influence to increase their political power to move black women and family policy agendas on a national, state, and local level? There you go. Can you handle it?
Thank you. So, most importantly, black women, we always give honor first to the shoulders for which we stand on. And understanding the path that has been paved for us. So the Hazel Dukes, the Cora Mastersberries, the Melanie Campbells, the Janetta Besh Coles, the Barbara Skinner, the Cleola Browns, all of the women around this table and those who are seen and unseen have created this table for us and have taught me and have taught this next generation, this now generation of leaders, to stand in our power. That is how we leverage the black woman agenda. And understanding that the black woman agenda is the moral consciousness of this country. In the words of one of my other mentors, Reverend William Barber III, we don't have a scarcity of resources in this country, we have a scarcity of moral consciousness. And when the black women of this country mobilize our vote, mobilize our family, mobilize our children, mobilize the next generations that we're training up to execute what it is that we want to see. We have to fight for voting rights. We have to fight to end poverty. We're fighting to end homelessness. We're fighting for health care reform, quality education, economic empowerment, the crisis around student loan debt and home ownership, and the gap of wealth within this country is something that will continue to impact generations to come. So it's our responsibility not only to give honor where honor is due to the shoulders that we stand on, to make sure that we are not complacent and we do not sleep at the wheel. In between elections is one of the most critical periods that we have to ensure that our voices are heard, that we speak up, and we continue to push on policy agendas that will enact change within this country. So we move an agenda that matters by doing the work and training up that next generation to be leaders now. So thank you to my leaders. We give all homage to you, and I thank you for the work that you all do. Peace and power.
Akosha Ali, NAACP DC chapter. All right now. Felicia Davis, Director, HBCU Green Fund, Convener, Clayton County, Georgia, Black Women's Roundtable. And if anyone has their mic on, please turn it off because we're getting feedback. Go ahead.
So that was a lot, right? So let me say this. There's black women everywhere, okay? Everywhere. Angola to Zimbabwe. So when we show up, we showing up for black women everywhere. And when we say we take care of the world, that's a real thing. So in addition to whatever I do with Deborah Scott and Helen Butler and everybody else running around Georgia trying to make sure we knock, drag, and anything that's living ought to vote. So, but I work on climate change. And climate is a real thing. And Melanie told me I was going to have 1 minute. She suffered through me for 20 years talking about this. Because she was just like, oh, she off doing with that. Now she said, you know what? That needs to be on the agenda. So right now, so I wrote down, because when Melanie tells me 2 minutes, she doesn't treat me like the folks on that end of the table. When it's 1 minute and 30 seconds, she's talking about, you got to move on over. So I knew what I needed to bring, and that's Justice 40. How many people by a show of hands know what Justice 40 is? See, now we got this president, and a few days in, this is what he said. For the first time, this is his word, not me. First time in our nation's history, the federal government has made a goal that 40% of the overall benefits of certain federal investments will flow to disadvantaged communities, right? Now, there's a lot of nuance there. Now, what are these? Climate change, clean energy, energy efficiency, clean transit, affordable and sustainable housing, training, workforce development, remediation, reduction of legacy pollution. If we don't find a space in there, when we talk about $400 billion, what it be? This our moment. So with all the rest that's going on, I'm leaving that. That's my message today. Yeah, I work on climate change. Yes, I'm global. Yes, I'm showing up for black women everywhere. But for black women right here, if we don't double down to get our, and 40%, see, I've been running around saying 60 billion. I'm saying, wait a minute, the climate thing is 400. We can multiply. So 494 don't come out to 6. So let's get it right.
All right, all right. If you don't know about Justice 40, look it up, research it. Let's go to Tanya Clayhouse, Executive Vice President for Campaigns and Advocacy, Hip Hop Caucus.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I first want to thank Melanie for always being there, for allowing me to be on this distinguished panel, to seeing so many friends. I'm the newly created Executive Vice President for the Hip Hop Caucus, and I came here intentionally. I came out of philanthropy because I needed to. I was in philanthropy, supporting Melanie, supporting most of y'all around this table to make sure that we had the funds, that black women who were leading this country, who have always been leading on the ground, had the money and the support in order to do the work that they do. And now I knew that it was time for me to get back into this fight on the ground. And so that's what I'm here to do today. Because I know that black representation, black women representation matters. When I was in philanthropy, it mattered. There weren't people, you all weren't getting funded. There is a reason black women need to be there. There's a reason why I need to be where I am right now. At the Hip Hop Caucus, it's generational. Like we've all been saying, we need to get to all of our generations. We're all here. I'm 49 years old. I'm going to admit it. I have been around for a minute. I'm not hip hop all the time, but I do know hip hop most of the time. And I recognize and I understand how it is that we need to talk to everyone where they are, how they show up, and make sure that we are culturally relevant. We need to make sure we understand and represent and tell people that, you know what, climate change matters. I have asthma. I wonder why. I wonder why it is my child has all these allergies. We didn't have allergies like this when I was growing up. Everybody's got a peanut allergy all of a sudden. What is going on? Why is it that my child has anxiety, my young child, about being scared at school right now? Because criminal justice, gun violence, policing, all of that matters. School discipline, all of that matters. Our educational quality matters. Black representation, black women representations in our field matters. And that's why when we show up, it's not just about the whole world is on our shoulders. It's that because what we say, we know matters, and we are the moral compass, as you said. So we're about to get cut off, so I'm going to say
okay, guys. All right, Deborah,
thank you.
Deborah Scott, CEO, Georgia Stand Up, State Partner, Unity 22, Black Women's Roundtable. All right, let's move it forward.
When our votes are under attack, what do? Stand up. Yeah. What do? Stand up, fight back. That's what we do at Georgia Stand Up. We stand up and fight back. I want to give a shout out to Liv, our organizer, young people in the room. So if I'm at the table, she's at the table. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you. Thank you for always convening black women to talk about the issues of the day. But what we need right now in Georgia is some help. So we understand the money is not going down to the organizations on the ground, and we're going to do the work anyway. But when they say the results don't come out the way that they want them to do, remember, we said send the money now. Send it now, right? So we're in Georgia knocking on doors, talking to people, doing text messages, doing all the things, talking to Mrs. Jackson and Mrs. Johnson and Pookie and Ray Ray and them. But they're asking us, what are we going to do? What's in it for us? And we have to be able to say, this agenda is for you. Look at what the White House has done. But then the White House has to, in turn, come back to these states and prove what they were done in a agenda that Pookie and Ray Ray and Miss Jackson and Miss Johnson understands. She needs to understand that these are kitchen table issues. These are pocketbook issues. And we're going to come out and vote. But we want to make sure we have things to vote for. So we do in Georgia. For this election, we have many things to vote for. And yes, it is against the law to give out water too close to the polling places. But we're going to give out love every single day. So we're going to do what? Stand up and fight back.
All right, come on. There we go. There we go. Guys, we have 20 minutes left, so we have what? Yeah, we got 20 minutes left, 10 and 10. I love how you did that. So everybody, let's follow that lead. Let's move on. All right, next panel, Mena Demesi, I'm sorry, forgive me, PhD. Chanel Hardy, Shani Hostin, Michelle Indie Mom of Comedy Foreman, and Brenda Gross Andrews. I'm going to start with Mena. How are Black women in the public and private sectors and or entertainment leveraging their leadership platforms and influence to use technology and culture to impact positive social change for Black Americans, especially Black women and families? There you go, Mena. Where are you?
Thank you, April. I'm right
there
here.
You go. Yes.
Again, thanks to everybody. Can people just look to your left and right? Look at this room. Every year it's standing room only. We're here because we know the power of what's been happening, right? And many of you know me. This is my home for me, CBCF, right? But I made a switch because when we're trained well and there's a call to action, we have to go and serve. And so now, let me pause. Nicole Austin Hillary, President and CEO.
Keep going
of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. I was raised by Dr. Scott. Nicole's been amazing in her efforts of leadership. I'm gonna turn it over to.
And so we're gonna pause, and since she run things, she's gonna give us an extra 10 minutes.
Y'all okay?
Thank you so much for providing this space and allowing us to once again come and have this gathering. And so I'm really excited. I know we've been praying for you. We've been fussing and praying. Okay, so we want to turn this over y'all's house, and just tell us whatever you want to say. And thank you, sister, for the leadership, and thank you for the opportunity for us to come together one more time.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you. I'm going to be quick, and those who know me know I can talk, but I'm going to be quick. First of all, can we all applaud Melanie Campbell for her leadership? Mel has been fighting the good fight for a long time, and I am one of the people who has benefited from her leadership, her vision, her fight, her mentorship. And so, Mel, I thank you. I remember way back when I was at the Brennan Center, one of my first TV appearances, me and you were rolling, talking about voting rights, okay? Talking about voting rights. So we've been doing this work a long time, and all of you, I'm seeing so many of my friends around the table. I love it. I love this room. You all forgive me for being late. There was another panel. I just interviewed Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton talking about Washington and Black Power in Washington, D.C., et cetera, et cetera. But I had to come over here and say hi and listen in on some of this. Black women, you all are just, there's a book that I love from college. Some of you may know it. This Bridge Called My Back. Does anybody remember that compilation of poems? And in fact, whenever my husband makes me mad, I bend over and I say, just walk on over that bridge called my back. It's our 20th wedding anniversary today, but I'm here with y'all, okay? I'm here with you all. But I just want to thank you all for everything that you are doing. You are change makers in this country, but not just in this country, throughout the world. And the CBCF, that is our mission. Our mission is about empowering the global Black community, and that's why I am here. I'm so honored to be the new president and CEO. And Mel, Tanya, Becky, please, all of my folks that have just been with me in the trenches, Gwen, for all of these years, you know that I'm here because, as I told folks, we love ALC, and I'm so glad to see this room packed. And I know y'all gonna party, and everybody looks pretty, but y'all, it's not about a party, it's about the people. It's about the people. That's why we're here, and you'll hear Congresswoman Sewell was reminding everybody today, we are here to get marching orders to change this country, okay, and to be strategic about how we do that. So let's be safe, let's love on each other, let's enjoy one another, but let's make sure we are armed and ready to do battle around all of these issues that Mel has you all talking about and that all these smart, intelligent advocate and warriors are talking about here today. And I am just so proud that the CBCF is here standing with you, holding you up, and we're going to continue to be here with you, stand with you, and hold you up as we build the next generation of leaders and provide thought leadership for Black America. So thank you all.
Founding executive director of a congressional, I don't know if y'all know each other already, but Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner is sitting over there too.
We were already
yes, okay, yes indeed. Praying us up. Thank you. Did we get them 10 minutes? So we get them in?
Wait, don't let my staff say we ready to get rid of her already. She's breaking the rules. I'm just gonna stand over here.
Thank you. All right, Mina, go ahead, finish up.
All right, and I want to thank Nicole Austin Hillary for her leadership. It's really awesome things happening. Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Isn't it interesting? I call it the paradox of racial progress, right? The more progress we make, we have to fight 10 times harder. But it's not ironic. It's designed that way, right? And so it needs a reminder that, if anything, now is the time more than ever to stand up and mobilize. To the question April's asking, and I want to thank her too, she's been very supportive at Universal Music Group. I'm now on the philanthropic side of things, like, with CBCF and under Dr. Scott's leadership, and, CBCF puts more Black interns on Capitol Hill than any other organization in the country. So while Congress is talking about racial diversity and how do we do it, you got a model right here, a pipeline right here, and so we need to continue to support them as well. Being on this side, though, in the social justice space in the music industry has been fascinating because of the work of all of you all. Shifts are happening in every sector, and they want to know how to do it. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just need to put some nice gold rims on that car that's moving in the right direction. And so, having worked for 10 years for CBCF, now being able to be in this space where they say, who are the nonprofits, who are the Black organizations, right? And Black women show up that we should be supporting. Well, guess what? I know all of them, and we can support them. And that's what the task force is doing. And this thing we're talking about, meaningful collectivity, that's what happened at Universal Music Group, because you have people like Ethiopia Haptamariam, chair and CEO of Motown Records, who co-founded the Task Force for Meaningful Change around social justice. And because of her and Black music executives at Interscope, Def Jam, all of the record labels came together, Black female executives as well as others, and said, we got to do something about that. And so I'm working with them. And shout out to Nicole Wiscarco, who created this idea and said, we need a pipeline in the music industry. So now we have an HBCU internship paid program. So anybody who knows people out there in the music industry, have them apply. We need to leverage the links and connections we have. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, because I know all of y'all. And so I just want to give a shout out to everybody in this room. It's important that we also give thanks, and I'm done, but I have to thank Dr. Barbara Skinner, Melanie Campbell, Dr. Scott. These are the people who paved the way for me and so many more. And so I'm going to turn to my left and to my right and to the Chanel Hardys of the world and say, when people say, how do we do it? You don't have to look any further. Just look to your left and the right, and that goes for everybody in this room. So,
all right, thank you. And we're looking right to your left for Chanel Hardy. Chanel, 2 minutes. Thank you.
All right, it's wonderful to see all of you. And let me just say thank you to all of you that I know, those of you that I don't know, who have given me a voice. Nobody believes I was really shy. I am an introvert. I found my voice when I was at the Urban League and realized I was standing on the women's shoulders that couldn't be at the tables where I was at that moment. And that's what gave me my voice. So what are we doing in the private sector to leverage leverage our influence on behalf of Black women? The same thing that we were doing before we got to the private sector. And so there were 2 wake-up calls for corporate America in recent years: the death of George Floyd, the horrific death of George Floyd, and the pandemic. These were not wake-up calls to anybody in this room, so they were not wake-up calls for me and the other Black women that I'm privileged to work in partnership with at Google. And so when it was time for us to decide what were our commitments going to be, like you said, we didn't have to build a new car. We knew we needed to say, Senior leadership, black representation needed to dramatically increase by 30%. We're now committing to spend $2.5 billion a year with minority-owned businesses. I could go down the list, but that's because the work had already been done and it was waiting. We're also talking about this election. You think about democracy and the role that technology plays. It's because of the work of advocates and black women that there is a title, Head of Civil Rights at Google, where I am charged not only to ensure that we have a cross-functional strategy around diversity and inclusion, partnering with our Chief Diversity Officer, Melanie Parker, but also to ensure that we have a civil rights program. So when you think about access to information, our mission, I'm thinking about what my sister Joy Chaney was saying earlier. We have all kinds of wonderful things in place to help get information, but we also need and value the partnership of black women who are holding us accountable to get the right information and to make sure it accurately reflects our community. And so the last thing I'll say is, like Mena, getting the resources out to the community. We have tech capacity, policy capacity fund, so that you can get into the weeds and tell us exactly what needs to happen is critical. So I'll just stop there, but with another thank you. Obviously, I'm sitting next to my mentor and looking at so many mentors around the room. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Shawnee. 2 minutes or less. We at that point, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will adhere to the timelines, but I do want to thank you too, Melanie. On behalf of AARP, I too stand on the shoulders of mentors, and I bring greetings on behalf of our CEO, Joanne Jenkins, and our Chief Diversity Officer, Edna Kane Williams. And so thank you for all that you do. On AARP, April, we are using our leadership, our platform, our digital assets that we have to do a few things, and I'm going to skip right to the point because we've heard a lot of the issues today. But AARP, for over 60 years, we're the largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that has been advocating for the needs of those that are 50 and older, and we continue to do that today. Our CEO was so excited to be able to leverage our advocacy arm to have the legislation passed for the Inflation Reduction Act recently. And that is really putting money back into the pockets of seniors and those issues that matter most to the black community and black women. So in addition to our advocacy work, we are right now doing a huge voter engagement and voter awareness campaign right now. And so one thing that we each can take away is going to aarp.org/vote and looking at state guides on how to vote, when to vote, the timelines in your particular state, sharing that information and making sure everybody in your family and communities know how to vote, because there's been so many changes. So that's one action item that we can each take. The other opportunity that I get to do, and I'm so blessed to be able to do this in the black community, is lead our communication channels. We now have at AARP a newsletter called Sisters with an S, letter.com. It's a free newsletter, digital newsletter that can come to your email every week, keeping you up to date with trusted information. We heard a lot about misinformation, right? So think about the trusted information that you can get on financial security, voting, healthcare, self-care, and all the things that we as black women need. So those are the things that we're going to continue to do. And the last thing I'll just say is that even with 38 million members and over 60,000 voters or volunteers across the country, we know we can't do it alone. And so we look for partnerships in the community, Divine Nine, sororities and fraternities, faith-based organizations, and groups like the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation. So thank you, Melanie, and thanks for letting me be a part of this conversation today.
Thanks. Michelle? Pass the mic, please. Melanie. Okay.
I'm going to go quickly. Thank you so much, Melanie, for entrusting me as probably one of the only working artists here at the table. I want to talk about the intersectionality of how the arts will help impact the vote and get people galvanized and moving. You know, oftentimes we like to watch folks like myself on TV, on stand-up comedy specials, but what you don't realize is we've got to laugh to keep from crying sometimes. Sometimes this work that you all do on the ground is overlooked because they're looking at the flashy lights of that artist and this artist and that celebrity. I tell people, I thank God that my celebrity will come after my kids have grown, because I want celebrity to serve. I don't want celebrity to be famous or infamous. I want to be able to get boots on the ground grounds and souls to the polls. And so I'm excited to be leading this initiative of Power of the Ballot, the Get Out the Vote comedy tour that's going to 7 cities, 5 states on behalf of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and the Black Women's Roundtable. Why is that important? Because nobody sees what happens behind the scenes when y'all are over here doing whatever you got to do to get souls to the polls. Nobody knows how it feels when you got that Spanx on sitting in front of that congressional committee trying to look cute, but your feet hurt because your red bottoms is killing your toes, but you're looking fine, but you're feeling like you're about to burst into flames. Ain't nobody talking back to me. Don't nobody know what it feel like when you're going through the change and it's change happening. Ain't nobody feel when you sweating for no reason. Don't nobody, yeah, they think you're nervous. You ain't nervous. You going through the change. Your body doing some things. And they think you scared. You ain't scared. You fanning and you making sure we got to get this work done. So why am I here? To make you laugh, to make you forget for 2 seconds how you had to put hymns over hands. You wanted to put hymns over smacking folks in their face. You understand me? So we're going to get out the vote. We're going to make sure that the intersectionality is real, that we applaud every single person on the ground doing the work, that we make sure those checks clear from AARP. We make sure those checks clear from Universal. And we do what has to be done to keep you laughing and working. I'm Michelle, the indie mom of comedy. I'm here to serve and to say what you can't say and laughter.
That was a good 2 minutes. Thank you. I need it.
And Sister April, and I'm from Baltimore City, so you already clear. Yes! We on the same program, Baltimore City. You understand? Baltimore ain't never scared. We the little city that got a big attitude. We ain't never scared.
You done took some more time, but I ain't mad at you. So look, Brenda, I gotta keep it going. Brenda Gross, but I'm with you. Brenda Gross, where are you? There you go. Come on, sis, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello? I don't think so. Okay. Thank you. Brenda Goss Andrews, the president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. And I am honored to be here because I have come to this room before and watched powerful women at the table. And I've sat out in the audience just marveling at black women. Noble was founded right here in D.C. in 1976. And our organization was formed because of 2 things, urban crime and also the lack of promotions for African American officers. So I'm proud to be here to speak today. A lot of things that I wanted to say have already been said, but I want to say if it hadn't been for Shirley Chisholm, there wouldn't be a Kamala Harris. And there's so many, in between. So, we have to think about that. Noble, we speak on a lot of different things, but I want to talk about our youth because I heard some educators here earlier. And I said one of my pillars is get out the vote. I got my button on here, black votes count. And I told my youth committee, we have to start with the young people, not giving up on our older people, but if we want to train the next generation, we talked about that gap in voting that talked about our young people. We've got to start with our children. They understand 4, 5, 6 years. They got these little phones and stuff. They know everything to do on this phone. So we can start talking to them about the importance of voting. And that's one of the things that Noble is doing. We recognize that we must start with our younger generation. Many of us went to school and we had civics. How many had civics? I know I did. Many of you did. They took that out of the schools, or they named it something else. It was just some fundamental kind of thing. So I want to leave with a couple of things and not repeat some stuff. But we had the women's suffrage movement. That was white women, talking about the vote. But they didn't include black women in that discussion. So that gave rise to the black feminist movement. If you haven't read Patricia Hill Collins, The Black Feminist Thought, get that book, because that talks about leveraging the voices of black women, the collective voice, because we have been marginalized, and we're still marginalized. I spent 30 years on the Detroit Police Department. I retired as a deputy chief. So I know what living through sexism and racism and all of that is all about. So I'm just going to say this. Ladies, it is going to take black women. It's going to take black women in this room and out of this room. And we've got to think about getting to the polls. We got to take this hair off. We got to take these eyelashes off. We got to kick the red bottoms off. All that kind of stuff. We got to get down in the trenches, use our collective voices, like the Black Feminist Thought Movement talked about. We got to continue using our voices in the pulpit, in the classes, and use our platforms to leverage the vote as black women. So we got to get to the polls. We got to take somebody to the polls. Take one to the polls. Thank you.
Thank you. You had people for a minute until you went to taking some stuff off, but that's okay. History has shown that black women, and this is the final paddle, guys, and we got to keep it going. We're going to still be short, but we got to keep it going. History has shown that black women are the secret sauce to maximize the power of the black vote, and that we not only show up to the polls, we bring others with us. Are black women motivated to ignite their secret sauce in the 2022 midterm elections? And with us, we have Christina Q, Barbara Williams Skinner, Salandra Benton, Helen Butler, Julie Collier, Letitia Daniels Jackson, Tiffany Dominique, Reverend Dr. Judith C. Moore, Tamika Ramsey, Cassandra Welchlin, P.D. Talley, the Honorable Sheila Tyson, and Reverend Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner. So I would like to put that as well. So I want to start with Christina Q, and let's go down the list, guys. I'm going to call Christina Q first, and we got 2 minutes. Girl, you've been running around, now you're here. Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm Christina Q, the National Campaign Manager for the National Coalition for our Unity 2022 campaign. I just want to say thank you to all of you in the room, and also thank you to Melanie Campbell for the opportunity to lead and be in service with all of you. So just really quick, the only thing I wanted to lift up, because Michelle already stole my thunder, we have our Black Youth Vote Challenge that we are launching, and we had over 20 schools and community organizations sign up for the challenge. So they're registering voters, they're signing up poll workers and poll monitors all across the country, and we're going to offer them cash prizes up to $10,000 money for participating in this challenge. And this is how we're getting our young people involved and engaged in the midterm election. And so, Daryl is behind me, sorry. And our Black Youth Vote Coordinator, Daryl, is right here behind me, and so wanted to lift him up in the room as well. So thank y'all so much for being here.
Reverend Dr. Barbara Skinner.
Can you tell them how to get involved in the Unity campaign?
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Sorry, I'll focus on the logistics in time. But how you get involved with our campaign, our website is unitycampaign.org. So it's unitycampaign.org is our website. And you can get involved with our campaign. You can sign up there to get involved. And also you can get more information about the comedy tour and the locations and the dates for the comedy tour in the city near you. Thank you.
Thank you. And the Reverend Dr. Right, Reverend Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner.
Turn it on.
But you the right doctor.
Okay. Thank you so much. Sisters, we are in a be still and know moment. And Cora is right. We are at the precipice, not just of democracy, but the last 50 years of Black progress. And the difference will be Black, older and younger people getting together. 9 million Black people, they're not middle class, who are not voting. They are poor, the ones we moved away from, who are middle class, and they're young. 140 million Generation Z and millennials, but only 90 million over 50. We have to work together. We won't make it if we don't work smarter. This is why I say it's a be still and know moment. Listen to this. By 1943, there won't be a majority race in America. That's what this fight is about. It's about white majority rule, gerrymandering, rolling back the rolls, making it criminals to give food and water to disabled and older people. That's not voter suppression, that's voter cruelty. But if you think that people who tried to tear down this Capitol and those now who run and are winning offices from governor and mayor on down don't have a plan to roll back not only the 65 Voting Rights Act, Tanya Clayhouse, but Brown won't be that much further back. This is not hysteria. This is America. And if we don't get our focus on our God, who is bigger than this nation, bigger than every ruler, bigger than any army, we've got to go back to the basics. We won't make it. I'm not talking about church. I'm talking about the Lord God Almighty, who's holding us in the precipice between life and death. And I believe black women and the church will be the sole salvation of America. But we got to be smart. Listen to this and I'll be quick. In 2016, April, 6 states, the margin that the former won by was less than our unregistered black vote. There you go. In Florida, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Texas, we don't have a lack of power. We have a lack of will to use our power. Akashua was right. We have the money to run candidates. Nobody is going to buy our freedom for us. We have the ability to do it. So when I come into a room like this, I am so excited when I see us together because I know what we're able to do. We have to get up off our assets. Pray that God would lead us without fear to these polls because there are 100,000 poll interrogators, partisan, who have the ability, the legal right to be in the polling stations. Cleola knows that. Our workers are going to be on the outside. So by the way people's hair look, dreadlocks, whatever, they can be stopped. Melanie knows that. So we, in my organization, Faith United to Save Democracy, we are mobilizing now, working with Melanie and others, 2,000 poll chaplains. Because we're going to have some moral force. That's how we got here. Soul force, moral force, and some backbone. So I pray that people my age would stop backing away from young people. Nobody can take your place if God puts you in it. We need to work with these young people. They may think they don't need us. They do. But we need them more. So God bless you all. We've got a lot of work to do. Turnoutsunday.com. You go to turnoutsunday.com, you get a 50-state voter registration guideline map online. There's a QR code. You can put it on your smartphone and start registering people now. It tells you the early voting dates and when it ends. We have enough power. Thank you, Tanya Clayhouse, when she was able to give us money, gave it to us to be able to do this. Let's applaud her for what she has done. God bless you all. Bad people are elected, Melanie, by good people who don't vote.
All right, there you go. How powerful. All right, guys, we're pushing our time limit. We got 1 minute, each person. I'm sorry, we are over, but we're gonna move because we got powerful words coming. So, Solandra, please, next. You need the mic.
Is it on? Yes.
Oh, yes, on.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you. It's a divine purpose for me to be here next to my mentor, Cleola, and my sister from Philadelphia, and Becky, who was up here because I was raised and born and educated in Philadelphia, so I understand math. So I'm going to keep it short. So everybody said what I wanted to say, but this is what I'm an organizer, so this is what I'm telling you all. And I want you to tell everybody that left the room, everybody that's in your phone, you got about 50 people on your cell phone. And I need you to text them and tell them, this is not a drill. This election, this is not a drill. This is not a drill. Can you all say that with me? This is not a drill. We're going to have to get out, and what we're doing in Florida, we're not doing van, we're doing personal relationship organizing. We texting every day, every week, to our families and friends. If you ate cornbread at my house and asked me to pay your electric bill or whatever, you need to vote. And not only do you need to vote, I need to see your sticker after you vote. Okay, because you will not be at our table on Sunday or Thanksgiving. So this is not a drill. Because you're either with me or you're against me. So I'm done, and I just want to give a shout out to my baby sister Sheena Mead that's in the house, because she understands this is not a drill.
This is not a drill. All right. We go to, okay, that was Solandra. Okay, Helen.
Thank you, Mel, for having me here from Georgia. You've heard about Georgia. Of course, black women have been the highest voting demographic in Georgia for a long time. And we proved it with changing the country in 2020 and 2021. So we're going to do that again. But you know, despite our turnout, Georgia decided they want to put a little stumbling blocks there, Tanya. But guess what? We're saying ain't no mountain high enough to keep us from voting. So join us at thepeoplesagenda.org, thepeoplesagenda.org. We're registering, we're educating, we're providing rides to the polls. But more importantly, we're protecting that right to vote, because, again, ain't no mountain high enough to keep us from voting.
Perfect. Perfect. Julie? Julie's not here. All right. Letitia?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Melanie, for your leadership. I'll be really quick. On October the 4th, the Alabama redistricting case, Milligan versus Merrill, will be argued before the Supreme Court. I'm one of the plaintiffs in that case, and it is about the gerrymandering of our congressional districts and denying black voters the opportunity to have a second congressional district. Wherever you are on October the 4th, we need you to be praying. We all know that we anticipate what the Supreme Court might do, but I am reminded about what Becky said earlier. Believe in the plausibility of the possible, and what Dr. Skinner just said, William Skinner just said about we need God right now. And so that case is one of the most critical, if not the most critical, cases related to the Voting Rights Act of our time. So wherever you are on October the 4th, stop for a minute and pray, because that's what we need.
Thank you so much. Is there a rally?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. There's a rally October the 4th also on the mall at the Capitol. And please come out. It's from 8 to 2. It's all day long. Well, not all day long, but the case will be going on at the time of the rally. So please come to the rally as well. Thank you.
Tiffany?
The bodies, the voices, the values, and the future of our children are on the ballot. And so we are telling people to go to unitycampaign.org to register to vote. We're telling them to sign up to be a poll worker, a poll monitor. We're saying we want you to take the pledge to take 5 people to the polls. We can't give out water in Georgia, but that's not the case in Philadelphia. So we're asking people, if you're staying in the line, at the end of the day, stay in the line. Go out and vote. That's what we're doing.
Wow, thank you. Reverend Dr. Judith Moore.
Thank you for this opportunity. We are telling our folks that this is not the time to get weary. We are telling our folks and pushing hard in the Pittsburgh and Mon Valley area. We are telling them that if you didn't mail in your ballot, get in that line and stay in that line. We are black women, and we are not easily broken. We are like a tree planted by the water. We ain't scared. We're not afraid of the heat. And we sure enough not worried about the drought. And our vote always bears fruit. because we are a mighty fortress is our God. We do not break.
Wow. That's my big sister. That's my big sister, just so you know. For real, for real.
Tamika.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. So there is a poem that I read. I will not apologize for my strength in the way it intimidates you. I will not tame my spirit in the way it howls. I will not be less. We need to stop letting these white women co-opt the work that we do on the ground. Abortion rights is abortion rights. Reproductive freedom is about body autonomy for black women who stepped on this soil not having body autonomy. We need to stop talking about abortion like it is the end all for what it is. Reproductive freedom is that. A freedom of choice, a freedom to be able to do what I want to do with my body, which black women have not been able to have. We need to stop. We need to talk to our people the way that we listen, the way that we hear, the way that we feel. We need to stop acting like we got to say the right words. The words that come out of our mouths, the words that we live in community are the right words. And this is why people don't listen to us, because we're trying to be some white women who do yoga and get Starbucks every week. We don't do that. We knock on doors. We talk about food stamps. We talk about the lack of child care. And until we talk and be who we are and stop trying to be who people think we should be, we are going to continue to lose.
Thank you, Tamika.
Thank you.
Thank you. Woo. All right, Cassandra.
I just want to say I agree with what has been said here. Melanie, thank you. And I just want to say also to everyone that's in this room and those listening, I am from Jackson, Mississippi. And we know what's been going on in Jackson, Mississippi. The issue around water, which is a human right, that everyone should have water. And we're struggling through this day and day. And we've been going through it since I was a little girl, and I'm almost 50. We've been going through this struggle since I was a little girl and my mother was a little girl. So this is called disinvestment in our communities. It's called racism, right? It's called all of those things. And as a result, our people are suffering. But we're doing what we have said around this table, is that we're talking to people about their kitchen table issues. And we have to connect those dots, and we're connecting those dots for communities, letting them know that we have to elect people, we have to go to the polls and we elect people who won't send the rental assistance program money back to the federal government, even though we live in a state where there's so much poverty. We've got to elect governors and legislators and people at the leadership level, elect people who will extend Medicaid 12 months postpartum, because in Mississippi we have the highest rate of maternal mortality in this country. And so we're connecting those dots for people in our community, because we understand that we should be living in dignity, right? It is our inherent right. And so I just want to say to all of you all, thank you for investing in Mississippi, in Jackson. If you want to continue to do more, go to msbwr.org so that you can. But we are connecting those dots, and we're sending people out to the polls, because these are pocketbook issues for black women and our families in the state of Mississippi.
Thank you. Petey?
Hi, I'm Petey Talley. I'm the convener of the Ohio Unity Coalition, CBCP, and they wrote Ohio off in this election cycle because of the way Ohio went in 2016 and 2020. Ohio continues to be a battleground state, and black women in Ohio, even though they wrote us off, we have been organizing and strategizing since March of this year to make sure that we can turn out the vote. So we have infrastructure on the ground. We have coordinators in most of the major cities. We're kind of doing a stealth thing. We're underground. We're organizing. We're going to try to do a sneak attack, because we understand that the final chapter of the struggle of black Americans for freedom, equality, and human dignity has not been written yet. And the kind of chapter that we are going to write depends on what men and women of goodwill do today to move ahead this unfinished business of American democracy. We're going to be there in Ohio to do the bidding. We're welcoming Michelle. We're the first leg of the comedy tour. We're ready to chop it up because we already been working hard. You can find us at www.ohiounity.org. We have a QR code. We're getting vote ready, and our early vote starts October 12th, and we're going to be ready because we've been organizing. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, the Honorable Sheila Tyson. You got a minute. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to recognize the president of the Birmingham City Council, Wardine Alexander, coming out to support me. I want black women, once we are elected to these seats, this is not a contest. You cannot serve in a seat the same way white women serve in a seat. You can't sit up with red lipstick on and red bottoms and think you're going to do something for your community. You can't be a rubber stamp at the table. You got to be our voice at the table. As more women we are putting in these seats in the state of Alabama, we have elected more black women judges in the state of Alabama and anywhere in the country. As we get them in, they're getting them out. You are not in a contest. You are serving people. And when you serve people, you got to serve from your gut, your heart. We already smart. You already pretty. You should know that when you get at the table. So once you get at this table, it is time for you to serve, and you need to serve from the community, not the doggone department store. I'm just fed up with it.
Yes. All right, Sheila.
And being a black woman is not enough to get elected. Not 2022, it's not. No. We want women that's going to serve our issues, and that's important. And thank you so much.
Right, thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Sheila.
Powerful. I'm going to turn it over. This was wonderful. I'm sorry, charge it to the time, not me. But this was wonderful, and I want to turn it over to the Black Woman Roundtable convener, the great Melanie Campbell.
Thank you, thank you. We're going to be brief. I'm actually not the closer, but I want to thank our illustrious moderator, Sister Power, all that, April Ryan. Follow April. Support her book. Okay? I'm blanking on the name. Just that quick. Do
Black Women Will Save the World, an anthem.
Okay.
It comes out in 2 weeks. Please
Okay.
pre-order and make us the New York Times bestseller.
Yes.
The women I talk about out here serving, they may have red bottoms in the closet you don't see, but they at the table. Trust and believe.
Okay.
And
Right.
there you go.
And then I want to just have our team, everybody just come up, just come stand with us. We're going to turn it over to our two sisters, Dr. Delisa Saunders, who's our senior policy advisor for the National Coalition Black Women's Roundtable, and my right hand, left arm, front and back, my ride or die, Tanya Tyson, who's the vice president of operations and events management for the National Coalition. And just have the team come up. Please just stand with us. I'm turning over to Delisa, and then Tanya, just any closing words. And I know, Tanya, you're going to share about some things coming up. Delisa.
What are we going to do in our homes, our communities, our cities, and our states, absentee, in person, by mail? What are we going to do? Or early on November 8th? Vote. Say what? Vote. What? Vote. All right.
Good afternoon, sisters. And I see we have a few brothers here, and I see y'all too. My name is Tanya Tyson, and I'm the Vice President of Operations and the Events Management. Finally, after 2 years, we are out of these Zoom boxes, and I'm glad to be in this room with a room full of phenomenal black women. And if April Ryan didn't teach us nothing, she said black women will get out and get the job done, and that's what we learned here. So I'd like to take this time to give all our phenomenal speakers a round of applause. Yes, I didn't. So next, BWR has coming up our Spirit of Democracy Awards Gala. That is December the 14th at the Hamilton on 14th Street Northwest. And we also have the Black Women of Power National Summit, March the 15th through the 19th, 2023. So I'm going to say that again, because if you all came this year to the summit, you know what we did. It's March the 15th through the 19th, 2023, and that will be at the Gaylord. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland Martin Unfiltered. Thank you, Congressional Black Caucus. Thank you to my team. Thank you all for all of you all. Let's do this thing. Let's win. Let's get out the vote. Let's turn it out. Thank you.